Hello Year 7. Now that you're starting to work as scientists, you need a way to present your findings. The way this is done is by a scientific report. This short video will show you how to write a scientific report and how the parts are put together. Pay close attention as the video continues. There are a number of parts to a scientific report, and they go as follows. The first thing you need to do is provide a title for your experiment. This should give the reader some idea of what your report is about. In your aim, you are letting the reader know what you are trying to find out. This could be something like investigating the time taken for water to evaporate in different conditions. The hypothesis is what you think will happen in the experiment. You make a prediction of what you think the result might be. The next part is an equipment list. You need to list all the equipment required to do the experiment. It is important to write absolutely everything down so that if someone wanted to do the same experiment they could, and they would know how to do so and all the equipment required. Once you have got an equipment list, you can start making a risk assessment. This is where you find out what some of the hazards that could arise are, and more importantly, what you need to do in order to avoid these hazards causing any harm to you or anyone around you during the experiment. For the method, you are writing down all the steps you took to complete the experiment. This section is written in third person past tense. Sometimes a diagram is provided to show the reader how the experimental apparatus is set up. You need to make sure of a couple of things when using diagrams. Firstly, you need to use pencil to draw your diagram, and secondly, you need to label your diagram. You can see in this diagram example here, it's a nice neat drawing with some nice labels there of things like the test tube, the beaker, the gauze mat, and the Bunsen burner. As you are conducting your experiment, you need to keep a record of what happens. This is called your results section. You need to make a record of all your observations and measurements in this section. Often, the best way to do this is in a results table. For example, in an experiment where you are using a range of techniques to achieve the same result, your table might look something like this. You'll have the technique used in the one column and the outcome of that technique in another column, and you'll record your results in there. For your discussion, you write about your results and link them to your aim. You might want to think about things like, do the results support my aim? Were there any problems with my results? Are there any ways I can improve my experiment if I was to do it again? The final part of your experimental write-up is your conclusion. This is a final statement that wraps up your experiment and tells the reader how the experiment worked and links your hypothesis with your final result. Was your hypothesis correct? So to have a quick recap of the experimental write-up procedure, you need to provide a title, an aim outlining the question you're trying to answer. You need to give a hypothesis of what you think is going to happen, the equipment list of everything you're going to need, a risk assessment and how you will avoid any injuries occurring. Your method outlines all the steps you're taking in your experiment, diagrams to show how the experiment is set up, a results table to record all of your data, and your discussion and conclusion telling the reader what the final result of your experiment was. Good luck writing!